Men and women don't trust each other anymore. At least, it certainly seems that way when surfing the internet. Feminist bubbles online continually talk about toxic masculinity and say things like, men are trash. On the other hand, men are red-pilled or even black-pilled. They believe they know the truth about women. You can often hear them saying things like, women only want the top 10% of men and never get married. Entirely new language has been created inside online incel and black pill bubbles like Chad and Stacy. This kind of rhetoric has been outlawed by the mainstream media, so you can find it on message boards and through memes. Sure, relationships between men and women have never been perfect, but you have to ask yourself, what on earth happened over the last 10 years? Why have relationships between men and women become so terrible over such a short space of time? The answer is simple: technology. In particular, 3 major technologies have appeared within the last 10 years or so that have fundamentally changed dating. 1. Online dating. 2. Filter bubbles. And 3. High-speed pornography and a society saturated with soft porn. As has happened throughout history, technology has radically changed our societies, our minds, and our lives. Men blame women, women blame men, and neither point the finger of blame in the right direction at technology. Technology has always been the most influential force in changing our societies, far more than culture, politics, or power. It's technology that has always created the most radical changes in our lives, and it's continuing to do so at an increasing rate. Once upon a time, a peaceful African tribe had a tradition that was passed through the centuries. The tribe's people believed that it was necessary to start a new fire in the fireplace during each act of sexual intercourse. The custom meant that each act of intercourse was a rather public event, since after sex happened, someone had to go to a neighbouring hut to bring back a burning stick in order to start a new fire. With this tradition in place, it was incredibly difficult for adultery to take place. Presumably, this is why this particular tradition was created in the first place. For centuries, this tradition was passed down through the ages. Then, suddenly, a new technology was introduced to the society: matches. With the introduction of matches, it became possible to light a fire without going to a neighbouring hut. In the blink of an eye, a long-standing tradition was destroyed. Adultery was now far easier to get away with, which likely led to a less stable society with more conflict and violence. In the 21st century, we have suddenly been introduced to our own new technology: online dating. In a strange twist of fate, the most predominant of these platforms is named Tinder, referring to the material needed to start a fire. Now let's take our own modern societies. What effects do you think may have occurred in our lives due to the introduction of online dating technologies like Tinder? The following are some important changes that online dating technology has made to our romantic lives. Cheating is easier than it's ever been. Nowadays, cheating on your partner and not getting caught is child's play. In the past, you may have had to go out to a bar or club to meet someone new. Doing so would require you to invent stories to your spouse to explain why you had been out until 3 a.m. on a Friday night. Today, meeting someone new is as simple as finding 10 minutes in the day to swipe right on your smartphone screen a few times. You could be sending messages on Tinder while sitting across from your partner at the dinner table, and they would have no idea. Even the sight of your partner glancing at their smartphone and smiling might be enough to arouse suspicion. For couples in long-term relationships, cheating has likely become far more tempting with the advent of online dating. All of the most attractive options within a 50-kilometer radius of ourselves are now available to us. This kind of exposure to new romantic partners has never been seen before in human history. These attractive men or women have likely also used photo retouching technology to increase their physical beauty beyond reality, making them further tempting still. The introduction of online dating technologies to a society inevitably leads to increased infidelity, ruined relationships, and distrust between the sexes. The uneven playing field. A 2019 Pew Research survey found that 50% of men reported getting not enough messages, compared with only 24% of women. 30% of women reported getting too many messages, compared with just 6% of men. This isn't a level playing field. Men far outnumber women across all online dating apps. The male to female ratio on Tinder is roughly 9-1, and even female-friendly dating app Bumble has a male to female ratio of 7-3. Conversely, the real world has a roughly 1-1 male to female ratio, which means the online dating environment is inevitably going to be massively skewed compared to the real world. Men are left frustrating that they can't find a partner, while women have to deal with a never-ending onslaught of messages, some of which turn abusive and hostile. The simple fact is, for women, men on online dating apps are replaceable. If a date with one man doesn't work out, she has an inbox full of messages she can choose from to pick her next date. Aesthetic beauty is more important than ever. Online dating apps are image-based platforms. We choose our partners based mainly on the photos we see, as well as a small amount of text in the profile. In this image-based environment, the importance of personality and character decrease, while the importance of aesthetic beauty increases. The most successful profiles, for both men and women, are people who have symmetrical faces, sexy bodies, good posing techniques, and good fashion sense. Men today often find themselves trying to get muscular bodies, learning how to pose for a camera, learning their most attractive angles, getting new hairstyles, and trying on new clothes, all for the purpose of getting an edge in their online dating profiles. Those who are, for whatever reason, less photogenic, find themselves struggling to meet a partner far more than they would in the real world. Today, much of our dating success is now dependent on our photography skills and how photogenic we are, rather than real desirable qualities like humor, wit, generosity, kind-heartedness, and so on. In the online dating environment, those who are superficial and narcissistic are greatly rewarded, incentivizing more and more people to adopt these traits.
And where this moves us very quickly toward a world in which the internet is showing us what it thinks we want to see, but not necessarily what we need to see. As Eric Schmidt said, it'll be very hard for people to watch or consume something that has not, in some sense, been tailored for them. So I do think this is a problem. And I think if you take all of these filters together, if you take all of these algorithms, you get what I call a filter bubble. And your filter bubble is kind of your own personal, unique universe of information that you live in online. And what's in your filter bubble depends on who you are, and it depends on what you do. But the thing is that you don't decide what gets in. And more importantly, you don't actually see what gets edited out.
Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country.
But it's not only the women.
Women talk about something like empathy, and women are known to be more empathetic than men. But women don't care about a man's struggle. They hang out at the finish line and they pick the winner.
When you're online, what you've clicked on before determines what you'll see next. Algorithms on social media that were introduced in around 2010 personalize content towards you. If you click one YouTube video about feminism on YouTube, you'll be suggested others for the rest of the week. If you click one YouTube video about men's dating advice, you'll soon be suggested countless others. These algorithms take millions of users and sort them into groups. They then use the data from other similar users to yourself to determine which is the absolute best piece of content to display to you next. Essentially, millions of people end up watching the exact same content as each other after being placed into a group by algorithms. This creates a filter bubble effect, where each of us is continually fed a select type of content, usually containing the same sets of views. When men search for how to get a girlfriend or how to get laid quickly into YouTube, the algorithm sort him into a male filter bubble. Conversely, when women search for how to find a boyfriend or how to seduce a man into YouTube, the algorithm sort her into a female filter bubble. As you spend more time within your filter bubble, and as you click more and more content supplied to you by the algorithms, the content begins to get more and more extreme in order to keep you interested. Just like those in totalitarian countries are indoctrinated into a certain set of beliefs, with no exposure to alternate sets of beliefs, the same could be said for those inside filter bubbles. The titles of content inside the male filter bubble might go something like this: How to get a girlfriend, 5 tricks that will make a girl fall in love, Why women always choose bad boys, Why you can't trust what a woman says, Taking the red pill, the truth about women, Why you should never get married, Why you need to treat women like dogs. Conversely, the female filter bubble might go something like this: How to find a boyfriend, 5 reasons why you can't find a man, Why men won't commit, Why most men aren't worth your time, Why men are such good liars, Why modern men are trash. Bear in mind that this process takes approximately 1 to 2 years, depending on how much time the individual spends online. Those in both the male and female filter bubbles develop a deep mistrust of the opposite gender, believing themselves to have found truths to justify their mistrust. Filter bubbles are their entirely own ecosystems, each containing their own ideologies. The male filter bubble focuses on evolutionary psychology, using evolutionary explanations to uncover the truths about the female subconscious brain. On the other hand, the female filter bubble focuses on social aspects of psychology, often talking about how a male-dominated patriarch has taught men and women to behave in certain ways. Those inside these filter bubbles have deep explanations inside their head as to why they can't trust the opposite gender. Since the invention of filter bubbles in 2010, they have quietly created a deep ideological divide between men and women. At least it has for those who spend a lot of time online.